Hey y'all, welcome back. Today I'm so excited to share with you my sun-kissed summer makeup, and we're gonna transition into something a little bit more of an autumn bliss look. Super cheesy name, but I thought it was really cute, and that's the mood I'm in. Let's figure out how to take our more summery makeup and make it something a little bit more autumnal for the upcoming season. Without further hesitation, let's get into creating this makeup look. Nothing makeup, outfit, hair-wise is going correctly. So the title I have in mind for this video of Sun-Kissed to Autumn Bliss is going to be very appropriate. We need some autumn bliss by the time I finish this makeup look. I'm going to do face first. So I'm going to start by adding a little bit of highlight and structure to the face. A few videos ago, I pulled out my MAC Mineralize Skinfinish in the shade Soft and Gentle, and it was okay, but personally, even though Soft and Gentle is a classic, it was never my favorite. So the other day, I was with one of my girlfriends out celebrating her birthday with a little bit of lunch and shopping, and we went by the MAC store and I purchased MAC's Mineralized Skinfinish, this time in the shade Lightscapade, which is a really beautiful mix of a pale gold, beige, pastel blue, pink, almost like a coral veining running through it. I'm using my Charlotte Tilbury Powder Sculpt Blush, and I'm gonna use this here high up on the cheekbones. Compared to Soft and Gentle, Lightscapade does not have the same visible shimmer to it, because Soft and Gentle almost has like a golden reflect added to the formula. Sorry, not golden, silver. It's a little bit more silver. And the base is like it's almost like a hosiery tan or nude shade. It's the tights or hosiery or pantyhose that you would get from like your local like dollar store in like the little egg, and they're that kind of universal nude shade that are like a slightly rosy tan beige. It works for a span of skin tones, but not for everyone. And I found for me, it was just never one of my personal favorites, especially as the world went on and we got more highlight shades. This was one of the ones I used a lot from MAC when I worked for MAC. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of bronzer, and just with the mood of today, this feels risky because I purchased this a few weeks ago and I've yet to use it because it hasn't felt like the right moment. And for some reason, it felt like today is the right moment if I can get the plastic cover up. This is, oh my goodness, it is a little clear plastic like slip cover, and I am having a time trying to get this off of. Wow, this is, I did not expect this little, I got it. I did not expect that much challenge from this refill pan. This is the RMS ReDimension Hydra Bronzer in the shade Beachwalk Betty. And this is the refill pan. It comes in a little carton like this. I purchased this because the day I purchased the blusher in Bermuda Rose, they did not have the bronzer in the compact. I just took the blush out and put the bronzer in. They're the same size. I have yet to use this bronzer. Is it showing up? Okay, I think it's showing up. Oh, there we go. There we go. It's showing up. I have yet to use this because when I swatched it in store, I said, oh, that's really shimmery. I did not know if this was going to be a little too much for my preferences. And I said, you know what? Sometimes it is nice to have a little bit more of a luminous bronzer, especially when you go out at night. So this would be a great like going out low light evening situation. And then when we got home, my husband was like, oh, I thought you said you weren't getting that bronzer. And then I was like, well, you know, I decided to change my mind. It will be like my evening going out bronzer. And then he's like, how often do you think we go out? And I'm like, well, that is true. So, saved a few dollars by buying the refill. Used the light hand. This isn't appearing too shimmery. I think though, since this does have a little bit of a luminosity, I would continue with my original idea and pair this with more of a matte blusher. My thought process is all over today. Do you all ever have days like this where it's just nothing is working out quite the way you planned. I mentioned in a few videos ago, I had started looking into some like hair toppers, wigs, different types of things that I could use with my hair because I saw in a video like the back of my head had this huge meltdown, really not being satisfied with my results from PRP over the last few years, and especially with how expensive it is. So I found this really cute online like alternative hair company called Cocao. I think that's how you say it. I think that's how they said, Cocao or something like that. I saw they had a boutique just outside of Toronto in Oakville. A few Saturdays ago, we got up, got ready, went down to Oakville. I had a nice long hour appointment and it was the most wonderful experience. I got fitted for 2 and this morning the first one arrived and I was so eager. I have been tracking the process of that delivery religiously. This morning I got the email saying that my parcel was out for delivery and I was like, okay, I won't get in the shower right now because in case I need to sign for the parcel or anything. My doorbell rang and we live in like a townhouse. Of the like non-basement floors, we have 3 floors of living and like the bedrooms, my recording office is on the top level and the doorbell and the front door is on the ground level, so that's 3 floors down. So the doorbell rang and I was going down as soon as I heard it, and then I opened up the door to accept my parcel and then I couldn't find the mailman. Where'd the mailman go? And then in the door handle it was, your parcel will be ready for you to pick up tomorrow. So I'm like, oh, okay. One of my new wigs is here. I just have to wait till tomorrow to go pick it up. Next, I'm gonna go in with my blusher, and I want to use an oldie but goodie. This is a Tarte Amazonian Clay blusher in the shade Exposed. And I was mentioning just a moment ago that I was gonna be using a matte blush. I want to use a matte blush because with my highlight and this more luminous bronzer, I don't want to add too many luminous products because even though I want to do this end of summer into autumn like transitional makeup, too much bronzy glow on my skin tone is going to feel very, very artificial, and I really love playing with more of the autumnal tones and colors that we find in something like soft autumn, true autumn, deep autumn color palettes. But for my coloring, it doesn't really suit me. It can overwhelm my overall coloring, and a lot of them, especially some of the warmer, more orange leaning shades, tend to really wash me out and really flatten out the appearance of my skin tones. I like to play with some of the more warm, rusty tones and then mix them and couple them with complementary shades from my summer color palette. Where I took a slightly warmer bronzer, now I'm using more of a soft, muted rose shade of blusher. This shade Exposed from Tarte, I keep with my soft, muted summer blushers. So the soft, muted color palette is something that is shared between summer and autumn. So this could also work as a slightly more neutral, cool blusher for soft autumn color palette. So using this to tie in will just help keep the look feeling a little bit more cohesive. I'm gonna take a little bit here, right on the center of my forehead, bridge my nose and my chin, and that will keep all these different places tied in together. Now switching over, I'm gonna use the BK Beauty Angie Hot Flashy A507 Angled Blush Brush. The next blusher I'm going to use is a little bit more of a stiff formula. This is the Clinique Cheek Pop in number 14 Heather Pop. This is a really lovely, muted, ruddy rose shade, and I really love using this shade to give my skin that post-summer glow. For me, a shade like this just almost creates that effect of like a little bit of a subtle sunburn, or if you're going to use it more in a more wintry way, you can almost use it to create like the effect of like a slight windburn. And I like using these shades to kind of give that end of summer glow to the skin, and also where the shade is a little bit more muted. It doesn't have as much pop as like one of our more brighter summery pinks or corals. It feels a little bit more shaded. It feels a little bit more soft and hazy on the overall complexion, all the different colors that we're applying, to give it that really seasonally appropriate look. Used in this selection with all the different shades that we're coupling together. And I'm gonna apply one more layer because I love a nice blushy look. rom&nd Better Than Palette eyeshadow palette. This is shade 03 Rosebud Garden. I am gonna start off with a little Dior number 21 flat packing brush palette. This is not my typical color story, but when I first was really getting into K-beauty and seasonal color analysis, this particular color palette was suggested by the brand for summers. And then I thought maybe the pictures online were skewing it to look a little bit warmer, but it is very much a neutral with some elements of cool and some elements of warm, rosy toned palette. And I'm gonna start with a light matte pink called Skin Bud. So I was thinking that this would be a great opportunity to bring it out and see what it does for the look I have in mind. On my skin, this shade is pulling slightly more of almost like a mauvey gray shade. It's almost like a dried rose shade. I want to add a little bit more warmth in, but I can't go too warm because I feel like that would clash with my jewelry and my outfit. Mix together a little bit of the shade Mood Rose and Reddish Soil, picking up a little bit more of the cooler shade, which was Mood Rose. And I want to use this up high in my socket line just to create a little bit of shape. I'm using a large fluffy brush, I think BK Beauty A503, and I want to use this just to create a little bit of a hazy rosy shade. When I look at my little mirror up close, they look pretty balanced, but when I look in the larger mirror behind my camera, the left eye looks a little bit softer than the right side. So I'm just going to balance them out with whatever's left on my brush. Then I'm gonna take whatever's left over under my lower lash line. That shaping on the eyes did a lot more than I was planning, so I feel like I might end up wrapping up this look a little bit more quickly. The shade Rosy Glow, which is like a nice warm rose pink, and I'm going to apply that right over the eyelid with my finger. Interesting, on the skin it does pull slightly cooler than it looks in the pan, but again, if you have a very warm skin tone, this shade might pull slightly warmer if you're putting it just over a skin tone base like I am. I want to add a little bit more kind of sparkle because that's really kind of perking me up. So I'm going to use the shade in the middle. This is called Sunshine Pink, and I am going to use it here on the innermost corner of the eye, and I'm going to really exaggerate that, almost kind of pulling it into that like Y2K Jennifer Lopez Waiting for Tonight, really bright inner eye highlight. If I want to add that fairy light touch, I'll use a little bit of the like sequin shade. This is called Glitter Pea, and I'm gonna use this with my finger, tap tap right here on the inner half of my eyelid. Sometimes with these large glitter particle shades, you almost pick a little bit more than you initially plan on, because after you use them a few times, they can start getting almost like a hard pan. So if you put your finger in, kind of dig, pick up a lot more than what you're wanting. When you press it, stamp it on, it will end up being a little bit softer than what it looks like it's going to be when it's picked up with your finger. Although we've got glitter sparkle, but you know, I don't mind it. If you are someone who reports to like a more corporate office job, maybe that's not the best eyeshadow for you to use, but I work in more of a creative field, so this is okay. If anything, it is a great talking point when you're interacting with customers. That's fun. That's a lot of fun. Now I want to add a little bit of eyeliner to ground this. I'm going to use my Sephora Collection 12-Hour Colorful Pencil. This is in the shade number 33 Love Affair, and I'm going to use this just to tight line my upper lash line. Now I'm going to apply a layer of my Dior Lash Primer on both sides. I've really been loving this Dior eye primer because it adds a white layer to your lashes, and it doesn't give the biggest effect as far as adding a lot of impact. I mean, it will give a little bit just from the product you're putting on, but I find this lightening up of my eyelashes, because my eyelashes are light, but they're not translucent or platinum blonde. blonde. Sometimes I feel like if I lighten them up with a white base and then I apply my mascara, it just gives me a little bit more impact. And then I'm gonna go right on top of that damp base with my Maybelline Sky High mascara. And I am using the shade Brown. Lastly, before I move on to the other eye, I've been doing one final step. And I've mentioned in a few videos, I've been having issues with my mascara smudging and running throughout the day. Instead of going out and buying a whole new waterproof mascara, I went through my backstock drawer and I found the Etude Dr. Mascara Fixer Long Lash Up Curl Fix. This is almost like a mascara top coat, and I have used the previous formula, but I was curious about this one because this is the super long length formula, and I just wanted to see what was different. This one, I don't know if this is the one I would repurchase in the future, because this helps to give an extra lengthening effect to your lashes because it adds these little fibers, and those little fibers will help adhere to your eyelashes as you work this top coat onto your eyelashes. My issue is I find sometimes I will end up with one of these like little fibers in my eyes, and it really irritates my eyes. That's not something I got with the original formula, so I would just stick with the basic. But if you are someone who doesn't want to use a waterproof, but you just want to make your existing mascara wear longer without smudging, creasing, and you want to hold a curl for longer, the Etude Dr. Mascara Fixer works like a charm. To set everything down, I'm going to use my e.l.f. Stay All Night Long Lasting Setting Spray. For lips, I really don't know if this lip shade is going to work for the look, but I recently purchased a new Dior lipstick because there was a new shade I recently saw in store, and they have a new refillable case, so we will see how this works. I also recently purchased one of the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencils, and I purchased the shade 506 Endless Cacao. This has been around for a few years. It's been very, very popular. I've always just kind of looked at it like, oh, it's a brown lip liner. And back in my early days working for MAC, I really loved using shades like Chestnut and Stone Lip Pencil to add a lot of dimension to my more pale nude lipsticks like Myth. Really light, almost like pastel nudes for my skin tone. I saw a trick on TikTok. I can't remember who it was I saw, but someone mentioned taking their powder foundation over their lip liner, and I had this like light bulb moment that that's what we used to do when I worked for MAC to just help keep things feeling a little softer and also lasting a little bit longer. If you're someone who struggles with dry lips, this wouldn't be the technique that I suggest for you, but I don't personally struggle with my lips getting very dry. I do put a thick layer of like a keeling ointment on them at night so my lips kind of based overnight. When I apply my lip color, I really don't have any issues with things making my lips feel dry. Now I'm going to use the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Original Lip Pencil, and I'm going to line over my lips again. After I use my Pillow Talk, then I'll go back and add another little layer of my Studio Fix powder, and then I go on top with the lipstick. So this is the Dior Addict Shine Lipstick in 373 Rose Celestial. And now with the lip color on, you cannot see all of the different lip liner powder foundation. If anything, this does make your lip color appear a little bit brighter. Something like this one, I use the Dior Rose Celestial on its own, just over my natural lip. It's a lot more sheer. I love this shade. I use these almost more of like fuchsia pinks as like my alternative to a red. Now I'm gonna apply a little bit more of my Clinique Heather Pop, because adding this in relation to Dior Rose Celestial will make this lip shade feel just a little bit more toned down. And then for my fragrance of the day, I am going to be using a newer fragrance to my collection. This is something I have been keeping an eye on ever since I was in London. When my husband and I were in London, we smelled so many different fragrances, and that was one of the first times we came across fragrances that my husband husband said he really liked. So I took notes of all the different fragrances that he liked, because he doesn't wear a lot of fragrances. He wears Creed Original Vetiver. A lot of fragrances he finds very overwhelming. So if he found something that he liked, I took note. This is from the Guerlain Aqua Allegoria range, and this is the Bosca Vanille Forte. This is not my traditional type. Like, over the last year, I've gotten into more vanillic or gourmand scents, but on a daily basis, I don't want to smell like cake. I don't want to smell like vanilla extract. I want something with vanilla that gives me some type of effect. I either want to feel very comforted or I want to feel just uplifted and happy. And Guerlain's Aqua Allegoria Bosca Vanilla does something very interesting for me, because this is a warm, woody vanilla that almost has something sweet in the base, not just vanilla sweet, but almost in a way it has a similar type of vanillic sweetness to something like Xerjoff Dama Bianca, but it's coupled with something slightly more aquatic, like something that you would smell at like a boardwalk beachfront location. As it dries down and settles into the skin, for me it goes a little bit warm, sticky, sweet, whereas on my husband it pulls out a lot more of those woody and almost like driftwood like notes. It's really fascinating how it develops so differently on our skin. Something that we've noticed a lot with fragrances, because sometimes I will layer my scents. Lately I've just been in a more simplistic mood. I have not been really using a lot of my scented body lotions. It's just been my CeraVe moisturizing cream head to toe. A lot of fragrances that we both wear, because every now and then he'll play with some of my fragrances, wear them, especially some of the ones that have more of like a gender neutral quality to them, because he doesn't like things that are overly floral. Sometimes we'll notice and appreciate how sometimes things pull a lot more masculine on him, or on me things will pull more of like a traditional feminine way, as you'll smell more of those like sweet floral notes, which is very, very fascinating how fragrance react differently to everyone's body chemistry. My hair is as good as it's gonna get. I don't know what's going on, but it's getting to a late where styling it's a little bit more difficult. I used all of my traditional styling products today, and then I used my Shark Flex Style. I don't know what happened. I use the Flex Style every time I go to style my hair, unless I'm gonna be using a more of like a hot tool, like a curling iron or a flat iron. I can normally create a really good look. Today, this is all that was happening. And sometimes it wants like poof out on the sides. It's like, wow, I am working my way into like a Meg Ryan Sleepless in Seattle kind of look. Thank you for spending time with me today. This video didn't really have a primary focus other than creating something that we could use to transition our summer makeup into autumn as the season is changing. And hopefully this just helps inspire you on those days where it just feels like nothing's going right, nothing's going the way that you want it to. And maybe, like, you know, we can just talk through things together and decompress, because I can tell you 100%, I feel a billion times better after spending time with you and just getting ready together. It's hard to be in a bad mood when you've done your makeup and you put on a bright pink lipstick. Like, how can you feel bad? I hope you have a great rest of the day wherever you are, and take care of yourself until we see each other again. I will talk to you later, my friends. Bye.